Gary Roberts, we are recording. Nice to meet you, man. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me on your show. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, man. And, pretty interesting talking with you because it seems like what I read about you, you've had a good life, but also kind of up and down, kind of a rough life at the same time, dealing with a bunch of not random, but I'm dealing with a bunch of shit, I guess I should say, and just what most people probably don't go through in their lifetime, I would think. Correct?
Yeah, that's pretty much hit a bunch of different walls, bunch of different issues. Overcame a bunch of stuff and created things that I never thought I would do. All from diversity, I guess. Just basically, challenges overcoming those.
Sure. So, in just kind of giving everyone a brief background about yourself, why don't you just go ahead and do that? I mean, I know you're a firefighter. I know you're helping people as far as fitness game now, and I know you've kind of jumped on a little bit of a plant-based medicine. So, yeah, just kind of giving people an idea of like who you are, and that way they're kind of know what might be talking about this evening.
Yeah, I'm a 18-year veteran firefighter. I'm still active duty here in South Florida. I am an active, I say active at my age, as active as I can be in the fitness and the CrossFit industry. A couple of years ago, I was competing a lot. So, now with injuries, it doesn't happen. But yeah, I started down the plant-based medicine when my daughter got addicted to opiates from a car accident. And that led me down a path of basically mental healing, physical healing, and finding alternatives and innovative therapy. So to actually get that done for myself as well as other people.
Yeah. I'm one of those CrossFit bros too. So this should go very
perfect.
Yeah, man. Like I'm right there with you, man. So, and so just going back, I know, 18 years on a fire department. I mean, did you always want to be a fire department? Was that the goal since coming out the womb, or how did that come about?
No. I was always a personal trainer coming out the wound. So, I was always into fitness. I've broken almost every bone in my body at least once. So I spend most of my time in the gym recovering myself. So, I learned how to actually maneuver myself properly, how to move properly. And I really started getting into the fitness industry and how that could happen. I started training professional hockey players. I'm originally from Canada. So I trained professional hockey players out there, moved to South Florida. Met my wife in a gym. We opened a couple of fitness studios, and then, at a bright young age of 35, I says, you know what? I might want something that I can fall back on later down in the career. Let's be a firefighter. Firefighter's cool. They get to break shit, break down doors. I've always been a thrill seeker, do crazy stuff. And then when I went through all the firefighting stuff, I realized that I got to do all this medical stuff too, which I was not prepared for. I'm like, all right, if you say so.
Yeah, man. And just touching on that a little bit, and based on some other podcasts I've heard, and I've always heard that people who are police officers always wish they would have been a firefighter compared to being a police officer. You ever heard that before?
Oh, we hear it all the time. Actually, every time we run a call with the police officers, we tell them, "You wish you were us, right?" We get all the love, but they play that little game of dropping patients off on us, like, okay, toe pain, call here, let's call a rescue so we can get you out of here. So it's a little give and take now with the police officer and everything else, but they're a cool bunch. You got to understand police officers. They're kind of like firefighters and military people. They're type A personalities like us. They got a job to do, and they try to do it the best they can.
So you weren't prepared at the time to handle all the health part of it. Is that what you said? Like is something you just had to start learning, and like you talking about like CPR and first aid type stuff?
Yeah. I was like, I could care less about that. I was like, I want to break down a door, run into a burning building, do shit like that, not like CPR and start IVs and, you got the sniffles and, take you to the hospital for some, craziness. Half the calls nowadays in the 911 industry, I say about 90% are all bullshit anyways. It's just, somebody, I got a headache, well, what'd you do last night? I drank all night. Okay, well, that's called a hangover, dude. You don't need to go to the hospital for that. Oh, but I want to go, so, I wasn't prepared for all that stuff.
Yeah. And so, and then what got you into CrossFit too? Was it part of the firefighters type stuff? I know some of them kind of train more or less in that fashion, but
yeah, I think, back in, I almost went to the first CrossFit Games. I think it was 2007, or 2000.
Early days, man. You were
the early days. I actually went to do a hazmat class down, and I was away, and I was talking to a teacher there. And the problem with hazmat, a lot of issues are we deal with dirty bombs and clandestine labs and everything else. A lot of people get a tunnel vision. And so the teacher says, so you practice not getting tunnel vision, you should try this thing called CrossFit. because what it does, it raises your heart rate, but you still got to pay attention to what you're doing.
Sure.
You don't hurt yourself. He goes, it's a great way to actually focus on raising your heart rate, breathing really heavy, doing a lot of work, and still knowing where you are so that you can slow down and understand what's going on around you. And I went, all right, let's see what this crazy stuff looks like. And I went on, like everybody does. And the first time I get into CrossFit, they go to CrossFit.com, and I'm like, all right. And this is the same story everybody tells. And I always think it's BS, but it literally did. I was in LA Fitness. I was still working in LA Fitness. And I'm like, all right, this thing, 21, 15, 9 of and his thing pull-ups and his thing thruster. I'm like,
oh yeah,
only 95 pounds. This is a cakewalk. And as well as I do, that thing kicked my ass. And I'm like, all right, I'm hooked. What's tomorrow? What's next?
Yeah, I know what you mean, dude. Everybody remembers our first friend, any CrossFitters does. And just because everyone looks at it just like pull-ups and thrusters, 95, like you just said, like you said, cake, man, like this is what y'all do. No wonder CrossFit gets a bad name, right? But then you do it and you're like, oh shit, like oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just did Fran last week, to be honest with you, man. But it still sucks. I've been doing CrossFit for roughly 10 years, and it's still like, that stupid saying that you don't really get better, you just get faster at it or something like that. And it's just like that's what happens, man. It still stings, man, every time. But
yeah, and I tell everybody that they used to, I own a CrossFit gym too. So I tell everybody who comes in, he goes, don't worry about not being able to do this stuff, because we won't be able to do this stuff too, but we're just doing it at our level. So it's completely the same. We're feeling the same thing you're saying. You're feeling at your level. It's just a completely different level.
Yeah, that's what I try to tell new people too, or that come into the gym. It's just like, hey man, leave your ego at the door. Don't worry about these people over here, doing muscle ups and all this picking up 315 and all this bullshit, man. Just worry about yourself, get a workout in, and then all that will come. It won't be on your first day. Yeah, there's probably outliers out there who people can just walk in and do that. But man, just focus on yourself, bro.
Exactly. Yeah. Just try to make it through the day, and hopefully you're not too sore that you come back.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's exactly it. People don't understand this. Like, hey, I don't want you to, get hurt today, and that way you're out 2 weeks, and then you're focusing on something else, man. Just be cool, man. It'll come. Just patience and time. It's all you need. Exactly, man. But so were you always like an athletic person growing up? And
yeah, I played soccer. I had a scholarship to go in Canada. I played soccer. I had a scholarship to go from high school to college. I blew a knee out.
Damn.
Lost a scholarship. I was also a freestyle skier. Was supposed to go to the 88 Olympics, broken arm.
Pretty good then, man. Wow.
Every time I was getting close to something, I broke something. So it's like, every time you think you're that good, you think you're invincible, something bad happens. And that's basically what happened to my athletic career. But yeah, I kept doing it. There's, I've dropped girlfriends like hotcakes. And I says, hey, listen, I don't know about you, but I am going to work out, whether you like it or not. And if you're not going to stop me, so if this is going to be an issue, we're just going to stop now.
Yeah. So that's pretty big time to almost go to the 88 Olympics. I mean, was that just like your one focus was like, just train, just get there? And like you said, you told the girls like, hey, sorry, see you, man, sacrifice, but I'm trying. This is my goal. I want to be in the Olympics.
Yeah, we were, it was tough. I knew the guy. One of my friends went. He's actually won. I think he won the gold medal in the 88 Olympics. But yeah, it's tough. It's not an easy sport. It's it really beats your back up, your knees up. But I was always back strong, leg strong. So soccer and freestyle skiing was my thing, man. I wanted it.
And so is this kind of where you started learning about ways of recovery, so you could, like you said earlier, so you could keep lifting and keep going at an older age rather than just walk through life with certain pain?
Exactly. What ends up happening in Canada, it's socialized medicine. So when I went to see the doctor for my knee, which took another 3 months after the accident, the doctor goes, you a hockey player? I'm like, no, I'm a skier. I want to go back skiing. He goes, well, do you make money skiing? I'm like, no. He goes, okay, well, we're not going to do surgery in it. Find another sport, find another way, you're screwed. Okay, well, that's not what you tell a kid that's 16 years old, 15, 16 years old, you're screwed, find something else. So without any surgery, I start studying how to recover my legs and my knees and everything else. And that's how I started learning, how to actually rebuild from injuries. And I'm still do it today. I work with an orthopedic group here, as their strength coach, because it's movement is important. Full range of movement is important. The way you do stuff is important. And especially in the lower body, that's where everybody gets screwed up. They're all like,
Sure.
gym rats where they're all buff on top. They wear they wear the jogging pants, and then wear the jogging pants at the beach because they got no legs. Because we all know when we do legs is painful. But they're like the redwood tree. It's your base. If you don't have that base, all the weight's going to topple down, and you're going to get injured.
Exactly, man. It comes back and haunts you if you don't build that steady foundation. And people just don't, like I said, kind of said earlier, they don't really understand that fact that, yeah, and I know it's not sexy to train legs, and that's probably not what, the girls go after. But I mean, still, I mean, you got to build a foundation of some sort just because exactly like what you just said, and it'll come tumbling down eventually.
Yeah. The old saying was, we tell everybody else, you don't break a hip, you don't fall and break a hip, the hip breaks and you fall. That's how it works.
I like it. I gotta remember that one. And so, looking at recovery and trying to heal yourself and everything, is this kind of how you segue into plant-based medicine, or was this something more with what you said earlier about opioids and stuff?
It was both, actually, to be honestly, because I was for the last I think 3 years ago, when I was still competing in the CrossFit Games, I think it was 4 years in a row I made top 100 in my age group in CrossFit, and I was trying to get to the games, and I was beating myself up. And I had that one major workout in the CrossFit Games where you had to do something ridiculous, like over 900 double unders.
Oh God!
Well, that completely destroyed my Achilles tendons in both feet. And being a firefighter and all of that, with all the gear on, it's like walking on shards of glass daily. And I did everything from acupuncture to cryotherapy to massages to orthopedic to chiropractors to podiatrists and steroids, everything, and nothing cured it. Absolutely nothing. And I was downing like 3,000 milligrams of Aleve daily for over a year. And I'm like, my liver is taking a shit kick in here. And this is not something, we want to do on a long-term basis. A year is basically long-term. And that was the same time we found out my daughter was actually addicted to opiates at the same time. So we went down this whole cannabis thing. In that time, cannabis wasn't legal in the state of Florida.
Of course.
I was ordering it from California to test it out. I tried it on myself first before giving it her because, I'm one of those people that wants to try to see if it works before I actually say anything works.
I get that.
And when you order stuff that's illegal, it comes in a DHL shipping thing, and it looks like a little bottle of perfume or something. It doesn't look like what it is. So whatever. I try it. And fitness guys like us is like, if it tastes shitty but it works, we're still going to drink it.
Of course. Yeah.
This stuff tasted like crap, did absolutely nothing for me. And I'm going, you know what? This whole hemp-based marijuana thing, I wasn't a pot smoker or drug user in the past. This has got to be some way of just making some sort of money.
Yeah.
Got to be some sort of scheme like that. And then I went to my holistic doctor, and she says, no, it's not. You got to find the right people. And she connected me with her farm out in Colorado. I got some stuff. I tried it. And on a pain scale of 1 to 10, my pain was always an 8. I tried it. I was in my kitchen one time, tried it. And my pain went from 8 to a 3.
Wow.
Trying it.
Wow.
Standing there, and my wife's looking at me, and she's going, what's wrong? Like, the pain in my Achilles went from an 8 to a 3. Well, for a year, I've been trying everything under the sun.
Sure.
Wife looks at me and goes, you're a complete idiot. You will do anything to say that this stuff works just so you can go back to the gym and work out and compete again. So it's probably just a placebo. And I thought, I'm like, you know what? It might be.
Could be. So, there is some truth to that. Yep.
For everybody who's listening, this is not recovery advice. I went into the gym and started doing double unders again just to see if I could get the pain back up to 8.
Oh, yeah? How'd it go?
It didn't move. It stayed at 3.
Oh.
So I stayed on the product. And about within 3 months or so, pain completely gone, and it's never come back.
Impressive. That's awesome.
So I was like, this is the stuff, if we can get this stuff to my daughter, let's start formulating how we can do it. This stuff to firefighters, let's create our own company. We contracted with the farm out in Colorado. We started doing our formulations, especially THC free, since I could not take THC. I tried the THC one, but I could not take it because my drug tests say, we're going to pop positive. So I had to make sure I can get a THC free one that I wouldn't pop positive, and it still worked like the one with THC. So we went through that for like about 8 months. That was a massive headache because, again, the legalities of getting,
I don't doubt it,
I mean, banking and everything is like, I had my credit card company shut down like at least 10 times, had to switch. It was like a massive endeavor, which would give me a headache. But when I finally got up and going, it was actually working well. And that's when my daughter actually passed away. To this day, 5 years ago, she actually overdosed. So it's been a little rough week, but we decided then that we needed to continue what she wanted to continue, which would always help other people get off opiates. And that's what we started more investigating more about the medical marijuana, plant-based medicine stuff.
So, and just to clarify, was this more of the CBD or more of actual, like, I know you said THC, but the actual cannabis where
this was a federally legal CBD that had THC in it.
Okay.
So it has a little bit. They call it, most companies will call it THC free because it's non-psychoactive, but it still has that 0.3% that if you take a piss test, you're going to pop positive, especially for firefighters and police officers. So we can't touch any of that stuff. But yeah, that's what we're trying to, because Florida is only a medical card only state.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Virginia, I know we're not allowed to, but DC, they, you can sell it in DC, but I mean, DC is its own entity, but you also have to call it like it's a gift or something like that for selling that type of stuff or whatever. But to your point though, I mean, I've experimented a little bit with CBD, obviously the non-THC one, but I mean, for a month, maybe is what I did it for, just because I think it was, I mean, even right now, it's still kind of a rave a little bit. Just, there's a lot of athletes talking about how they incorporate it with their training routines. I think a lot of people who are under high anxiety, stress are incorporating, from what I'm understanding. But for me personally, I mean, I thought it helped me sleep better. And also, as far as inflammation after my workouts and stuff, I don't know, but I felt more, I don't go through pain like you were talking about, but I just felt like I did get better sleep, and that, I was more relaxed, so to speak, like, no pun intended, but you take the weight off your shoulders and you're just like, oh, okay, cool. I'm good. No reason to worry about anything. So that's my experience with it. And I've never had any side effects or anyone even tell me any side effects of it, really.
That's what it is. It's basically, I call it more of a recovery tool than actually a enhancement tool. Sure. You're going to get the enhancement because you're going to be able, like you said, sleep better. It's going to lower inflammation faster. I used to actually take it when I was doing local competitions. I would take it in between each workout to recover from them, and I would feel awesome about it. The cool thing about a CBD is that it has two spectrums. It has the one that can calm you, like you said, relax you, make you go to sleep, take the weight off your shoulders, but also it has the focus of it that it can actually work for ADHD patients, that if you start thinking about something or doing something very intense or reading a book, you'll be focused on it like directly and actually finish that. So it helped with the workouts because it calmed my heart rate down, but also let me focus. And then at night it let me sleep. So it was a wonder tool when you get a good product. And that's very, very hard to find now because every mom and pop wants to sell something and try to make some buck off trendy stuff.
What's just like what you said, going through the legalities of the whole process, where people who are not, I'm not calling anybody out or anything, but people who are not educated on CBD, automatically, if you say the word CBD, they think, okay, weed, that's marijuana or whatever. And this, with THC, without THC, and they immediately write it off just because of, I guess, the whole social or cultural narrative behind marijuana. And then it's like, oh, there's, like what you were talking about with your wife, like, oh, you're just making that up so you can just take this stuff and just saying it's helping you or whatever, X, Y, and Z. But really there is, and even today in the modern world, there's a lot more research coming out where people are actually saying, hey, we did certain case studies right here. And I don't know them specifically, but ones I hear on podcasts, it's like, hey man, there is something to this stuff. It's just not made up out of thin air so we can have, marijuana legalized or whatever. Right.
Exactly. That's one of the biggest reasons why I started the podcast. I started with Good Dudes Grow, was basically, when it started to work for me and I started going through that path, I decided, I need to get my fellow firefighters involved. So let's go talk to human resources. Well, human resources looked at me like I just smoked something and then I was completely myself, and they slammed the door on me. I went to the fire administration and asked them, and they went, not a chance in hell. They slammed the door on me. Then I went to our health and wellness committee, and it's like, we know nothing about this. There's if human resources is not doing it and they're not doing it, we're not doing it. And so I says, you know what? The stigma and miscommunication and misunderstanding of what this product is, especially the legal federally legal stuff that's non-psychoactive, that has absolutely no recourse to anybody taking it, needs to be put out there. So that's where I opened up my podcast and says, I'm going to have guests on from professional athletes, from entrepreneurs, physicians, everybody who's tried it and doing stuff with either cannabis or CBD, just to tell us their stories so that it can open the conversation. And it was actually one of the best moves I did.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, that's one of the things just with podcasts now, that we start these conversations about, maybe things that are not so sexy, quote unquote, to talk about. And then when you start to get professional athletes and advocates for CBD or whatever it is, and start talking about the benefits of it, and that, hey, there's really no side effects to it. Just that when that it's good. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't see anything wrong with it. And I'm an advocate for it. And even with MMA fighters, I was talking with, I forgot who I was talking with, but we were talking about the effects of like MMA fighters use it in their training now, and they feel more, what's the word am I looking? They feel more in depth with their bodies and the way they're moving, I guess. And they feel more like, not relaxed, but they feel like more like you were talking about, like focused and
that zone area.
There you go.
Nobody talks about, we want to get into the zone.
There you go. That's what I'm trying to say.
Get there, but at a nice, calm, relaxed state.
Exactly. Yeah, their flow state, and just like how much better. And I don't know if they were talking about an actual competition, if they are using it, but during their training, though, they said it just excels their training to a new level. In which I was like, wow, man, like I never would have thought that.
Yeah, it was, like I said, I used it during my competitions. It was definitely a game changer. But like I said, but the funniest thing about the podcast, we want to go back to that, is that I had no clue what I was doing. I just started it. Like everybody says,
I'm right there with you, man.
Weirdest thing is, like, who's going to come on my show? Where am I going to get these people? And next, I think the 7th episode, I had Tommy Chong on my show.
Impressive, man.
And I'm like, really? And I'm like, my God, I got Tommy Chong. And then I had Kyle Turley jump on my show. And then Rob Sims jumped on my show. And all these NFL players. And I had a couple of NHL hockey players that won the Stanley Cup jump on my show. I'm like, all right, I'm on to something here. Everybody wants to tell their story. Let's give them a platform and do it. And so that's how it all started. And you know what? The coolest thing about it is that the people in my fire department that told me no back then,
now they want to come on.
Well, now they let me. I'm in the process of helping them change our testing procedures in our contract so that we can actually use a federally legal with THC, as well as they created a health and wellness committee where I'm the coach, where I'm the chairman of it, to actually teach the firefighters how to use the stuff properly and what to use and what to look for and everything else. So now they're in tune with exactly what it is, because we, the podcast and myself educated them, and that's all it needs to be done, is the education. People just listen.
Just start the conversations, man. Just get it going, and you don't know where it's going to lead to. And I still don't know what the hell I'm doing with my podcast, but it was one of those things. I just love podcasts. I wanted to have people on and talk things out, things that maybe I like to learn and I like to grow from that, and just things that I was not getting maybe in my everyday life, just because, I usually go to work, I go train for CrossFit and coach a couple classes, come home, and then that's it. So I think I was missing something, and now I get to have cool conversations that kind of stimulate the mind like this, and talk, especially when it's cool people like you, man, Gary. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, man. And I guess, I wanted to ask, and because in my, I work out with a lot of police officers that come to my box or whatever, but in terms of the firehouse, I mean, do most of the firemen, are they looking to always improve themselves, stay fit to a certain point, or is it just kind of matter of the firehouse, or the matter of the group you're in? Okay. Because that's what I was thinking. It's probably like a 50-50 kind of thing.
Let's just say that, like, I have a gay guy in my CrossFit gym. He's freaking hilarious. He's like, I thought all you firefighters are like the people in the calendar. He goes, you're not. What the hell happened to you people? Okay. It's called no sleep, eating when we can, eat what we can. That's the sad truth. It's the community in the fire department is actually, if you think about it, it's basically a 30-year what do I call it? A frat house.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So everybody knows everybody knows everybody's family, everybody knows everybody's life, but it's consistently just eating what you can, because you never know what the hell's going to go on next. So you either got to cook it fast or try and do it. My station, I took over the cooking because I don't like to eat crap. And so I got my station. They all work out now. They all, they take the CBD products. There's certain stations that people will take the lead on that. And I took the lead at our station. Everybody follows it now.
Good.
So if you have somebody who's going to take that lead, then yeah, but most of the people would just rather just sit there, do their 24 hours and, stuff their face, do their other calls and go home.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, hence the big issues with heart attacks when we retire and everything else.
Yeah, but I mean that's pretty bad. You took, or pretty badass is what I'm trying to say. That you took the initiative to say, "Hey, let's get our asses in gear," and like even taking over the cooking, man. I mean, just because I'm sure that just takes a weight off everybody's shoulders, just knowing that okay, we're not eating crap, and somebody doesn't mind, even if it's only you cooking. That's even you're sharing it with everybody, and you're fueling yourself the way that you should be fueling, which a lot of people miss out on just because in my work, and I'm not want to call anybody out, but they're always talking about lunch is always going to be some new fast food place or whatever that they can get their hands on first.
Yeah,
it's just like, man, what are y'all doing, bro? What are y'all doing? Really, like, go read something about it real quick. I mean, maybe once a week, whatever, that's fine. But damn, every day,
every day. You know as well as I do. If you eat clean, we even once a week we go through it. It's like, oh, crap, it's 2 days. You're wondering how these people do it like once a week. Like, my God. In the bathroom for like after 3 days after one McDonald's or something, you're stuffing it every minute.
Yeah, I think it made it better for me once I started learning more about the way I do my nutrition and what works for me and how I feel good and stuff. And that now, if I'm not saying I'm perfect and I'm 100% clean and all that good stuff, but I don't mind going out and getting a beer and a burger on a Saturday night or whatever. But that's like my treat now, and like it means more to me when I do stuff like that rather than just eating it every day. That now it's okay, Friday night or Saturday night going out with, the boys or whoever it is, people from the gym, like, hey, let's get a couple of beers or whatever. And like now it's like, okay, it hits the spot for me and like gives me the satisfaction that I'm looking for as opposed to every day. So,
yeah, well, that's I think the other people, it's more of a crutch or a habit. You make that decision, like, what, am I going to go out tonight and with the guys? Yeah, I'm going to go out. What the hell? You know what? I'll do it. You make that decision. You understand what the next day is going to come up with, how to actually recover, how to actually physically get back to where you were so you can get back to doing what you're doing. Everybody else just, they're going to do it and then they're going to be a slug for the next 4 weeks. And then that's it. It's the same thing with the New Year's resolutions. It's just,
oh yeah, dude.
All of this is a big list to fail. Why don't we stop worrying about New Year's resolutions and wait till December 31st and write a list of all the accomplishments we did? Let's not write a list of maybes. Let's write a list of stuff we actually did at the end, not at the beginning of the year, hoping we get it done.
Yeah. And I know you said you went to HR and was like trying to get everything good to go with your CBD stuff and all that. I mean, was your colleagues, your team, firemen, like right behind you with it? Were they kind of telling you like, nah, Gary, don't be doing this, man. This is probably a wrong road you don't want to go down on. I mean, or were they all like, yeah, man, let's get into this. Let's do this, bro.
My union said, forget it. Don't even, we're not a chance, dude. This is not something we're bringing up. And I'm like, you got to bring it up. I says, here's the problem with not bringing it up. I says, and here's the education I got them. I says, what most people don't understand is that when you come in contact with THC, whether it's secondhand smoke, whether it's a cream, whether you touch something, I says, your body metabolizes it and creates the metabolites. You're not going to get high. I agree 100%. You can't get high in secondhand smoke, but your body will create the chemistry that our drug tests for. So we're in a medical marijuana state. We have grow houses. We have patients who when we walk in, the whole house smells and they're still smoking when we walk in there. While we're in there, we're inhaling that stuff. We get a random drug test the next day. We could pop positive saying that we did something. So what we're doing is we're doing a disservice not only to the firefighters who are actually trying to help people, but you're putting up the city to a frivolous lawsuit because you can actually sue the city because you can prove that either you're taking the federally illegal stuff because it's no longer a controlled substance. And you can actually, there's this tests that show active THC levels. So I says, why don't we just create a new test? Keep the test in there. Say we're still testing for marijuana because we don't want firefighters driving high and
of course
down the road. No, we don't want that. We understand that. I says, but let's change the test from a metabolite test, which is an inactive test, which the federally illegal stuff will actually pop us, and go for a blood work test, which actually shows active THC levels. then you can fight that they were impaired during their job because you have an active THC level. You cannot fight an inert, non-psychoactive product that the government says is non-psychoactive. You can't fire me for something that I can buy at Walmart.
Of course.
You know, it just doesn't work. And that's where their eyes kind of opened, but it was still bad. It was still a battle. My first battle was with the city attorney, and he flat out sat there and he goes, well, I had something. The guy said he got high in secondhand smoke. And I says, you can't do that. You can't get high and all that. And I sit there and I'm like, no, I agree. You can't get high, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the test that you're testing us for is a non-psychoactive. So we'll never be high anyways.
Yeah.
Positive. So we just need to test it. He goes, you know what the problem is? He goes, the problem is that, there's no way to show impairment. I'm like, yeah, dude, there's a blood test that you can show impairment. Oh, well, there's no levels. Well, that's funny. Washington, Colorado, Canada, all have levels of 5 nanograms per milliliter of blood. There, if you want a level, use the level that their police use for your levels. There it is, of active ingredient. There we go. And finally, he sat back and looked at me. He goes, you know what? I'm no expert on this. He goes, it'll be up to the city now. Okay, really? Well, great. You're not an expert. So just be quiet and stop trying to fight me on it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like, clearly I got that when you're asking all these questions, and apparently you didn't do your homework, bro. So
yeah, apparently you weren't prepared.
Yeah, and he's probably getting pissed off that you were actually kind of taking him to school too at the same time.
I was prepared. I read all the Florida statutes. I have with my facility that I'm building in Costa Rica, I have a legal team, and I asked them all these questions, and I went back and forth to prepare for. So I got in there. I had, I was loaded. I had freaking paperwork. I had everything. I was ready for him.
Yeah, I love that, man. I mean, I'm glad that you took the initiative and you went in there and prepared, and you were just a badass thing to go in there and to take on the city attorney and just be like, I ain't afraid of you, bro. Like this is
the Esquire behind your name don't scare me.
Yeah. So you're building a facility in Costa Rica?
Yeah. So what ended up happening is, as the podcast grew, we started making partnerships and we started making collaborations with people. And we started looking down the mental health aspect of it, because what happened with our hemp company, when we started providing it to firefighters, what ended up happening is that several firefighters phoned us afterwards and said, hey, dude, because I don't know what you gave me, but I'm getting a divorce. I've been yelling at my kids. I've been having nightmares and stuff. But for a week on your stuff, those nightmares that were consistent on a daily basis are no longer consistent. They last and they disappear. And then slowly they went away. So whatever the product you gave us, it's been helping my mental status. And you're talking about, like we said in the beginning of the show, type A personalities. For mental health in a fire department, they put a poster up that says, if you feel like hurting yourself, call this number. You know what? We're not calling any number to some dude we've never seen before.
Of course.
So that's not going to happen. And most people don't feel comfortable with. These people were willingly opening up and telling me that they had these problems. And I went, you know what, here's something that's calming these guys down, let them to help sleep, and letting them openly tell me that they have something, seriously wrong that they can need some help with. So let's look down the mental health aspect of it. And we started going there, and I started doing everything like that. And then I fell upon a article from MAPS USA, where they just did their MDMA study, which they're fast tracking ecstasy through the FDA for PTSD. And it's shown that not are they treating it, but they're actually curing it. The 73% of the people that went through their trial no longer associate or are diagnosed as a PTSD patient.
Wow.
Blew my mind. So I started investigating psychedelics and everything. And to make a long story short on how this has been going on for 3 years, is I says, how can we create a treatment center to where firefighters, veterans, professional athletes, because we're also looking into concussion and traumatic brain injuries and CTE. How can we look at this in the United States and create a center to treat these people? Well, hold and behold, I investigated. It was going to cost something like $500 to $700 million. Wow! Like, wow, that's a lot of money. So that's not going to happen. But how can we do this? So I says, let's find reasons to do this. So I went and talked to the patients. And I says, let's talk to the patients. Patients, yeah, we're all in. We like this. Let me talk to my doctor. So most patients, when you talk to cannabis or psychedelics, are like, yeah, great idea. Let me ask what my doctor thinks. Well, if you ever talk to a doctor, your physician, about cannabis or CBD, and he's not informed, or psychedelics, they're going, not happening. Don't do it. Don't
Exactly.
take it. It's useless. And every doctor in Canada or here, for some reason, seems that their protocols are the world's best protocols for anything that anybody can do. And you can't go anywhere else because my shit's the shit. Like, do what I tell you and you'll be cured. But yet it never works that way. So I said, so how do we change the doctor's minds? We got to get to doctors associations. Well, how do we do that? Well, we need data. Well, we need to collect clinical data. I'm like, so now we need to build a clinical trial unit. I'm like, oh my God, this is getting a little complicated. And I'm like, but we can do this. And so we looked at Latin America, says, let's find a place where it can cost us a third of the price to do all this, not 700 million, but maybe like something like 25 million or something else. And we can create this center that we can go and treat people. As we're treating them, we can collect real-time data and clinical data, but we need to have it at the same healthcare benefits that are actually in the United States. Well, Costa Rica is actually, their healthcare is at the same level as Health Canada, which is at the same level of the FDA.
Okay.
So what most people don't understand about Costa Rica is they're ranked seventh globally as a medical tourism country. In other words, people go down there for plastic surgery, knee replacements, hip replacements, dentist work, and everything else. Why do they go down there? Because cost is 30 to 70% cheaper than the United States.
Wow, I did not know.
And they take United States healthcare.
Wow.
I said, well, this is interesting. How do we get down there? I checked the laws and it says they don't even do cannabis down there. Everything is illegal. Well, lo and behold, while I was investigating, I connected with somebody. At that same time I was looking, they were signing the legislation for their medical cannabis bill. And I got in contact with the congresswoman there, and we became good friends. And we went down and we started talking what we're going to do. And she started introducing me to the House Speaker, to the medical tourism minister. And we started saying, okay, well, this can actually be done. So we created partnerships in the UK, Australia, Canada, and the United States, as well as in Costa Rica, to be able to do not only psychedelics, but cannabis. Think of it as a Sandals Resort underneath a medical oversight.
Sure.
That's fully inclusive and has its own full CBD and cannabis restaurant, all for treatment of PTSD, mental illness, concussion therapy, and traumatic brain injuries, as well as collecting clinical data to bring to the FDA so that when the United States roll it out, we have a intellectual property showing that here's what we want to use for concussions, here's what we use for depression, here's what we use for PTSD. So as they roll out these centers in the United States, we're already rolling out our protocols that we've studied in Latin America.
Yeah, Gary, that's badass, man. And to your point, you basically already said it, but that's one thing also with psychedelics that I've been hearing as far as, like you said, mental health and I think concussions and just people with this PTSD and brain injuries in general, that I know Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore is doing a lot of research behind that and just talking about how psychedelics is helping these specific group of people improve as far as their brain function. And like, and it's just like, wow, like, it's immediately shut off again. Like we were talking about earlier with like weed and cannabis and even CBD, that's like, oh, it's psychedelics. That's a no, you don't do that around here. But now, even with starting these conversations where, people like health advocates are talking about, oh yeah, microdose with certain psychedelics. And I've never done it, so I can't really speak to it much, but I know people I don't know them personally, but people who have talked about it, just say in their daily lives, how much it just improves their, demeanor, like on a completely different scale. They go through life a lot better. And just that, and it's like so cool that here in 2023 now that all this stuff is starting to say that's been written off immediately for years and years. Now we're coming along and like, hey, we're changing the game on things now. And we're saying like, hey, yeah, it's actually, there's something to it rather than just that it's not bad. Like, yeah, maybe too much of it could be bad. I don't know. Again, I've never done psychedelics in any form or fashion, but yeah, I don't know, but it's just like, man, things are changing, and I think it's changing for the good.
It is. It's going to change the landscape in the future. It's slowly coming through. But the biggest issues that we wanted, and this is what we looked at, and that's why we're doing it this way underneath medical oversight. There's current retreats you can go to in Costa Rica, do ayahuasca and
I was going to ask about that.
But the problem is it's not underneath a medical supervision. And the problem is you get a firefighter who is suicidal, who says ayahuasca is going to change his life, pays all this money, goes to these, this retreat and takes his medication. There's no medical background taken. There's no integration to understand what he's going through. There's no past medical history. There's a lot of places that are just working it to get the money because that's the new fad right now because psychedelics.
Yeah.
So psychedelics can be good, but they might not be good. ayahuasca may be good for you, but it may not be. So if you have
Sure.
no way of actually figuring it out, you know, it's going to be a troublesome thing later on down the road. And that's not what we want to do. We wanted to create a pathway to people who want to use psychedelics. Let's figure out, hey, you listen, you heard about ayahuasca? Well, we're going to do something called precision medicine, which means we're going to take some blood work, some DNA, and see if ayahuasca is actually feasible for you to actually use. It may not be, and we'll push you to a psilocybin or maybe an MDMA or LSD route, which is more probable for what you're looking for. And the fact is, maybe by talking or pre-integration, you may not even be psychedelics may not even be for you. Just think that it is because the whole everybody's talking about it. You know, it just might be somebody you need to talk to or something else, or the medication you're on might be fine. And that's the biggest thing I say is we wanted everybody to understand that the safety and the side effects on everything, so that when they make those decisions,
Yeah, give them this research, man. Yeah.
and for the thing on John Hopkins is doing some awesome research. But the problem with John Hopkins research is that it's in a hospital. So it's like a firefighter or somebody who's having mental illness problems, they don't want to feel like they're going to an asylum to get treatment.
Oh,
they want to feel comfortable. And where do you feel comfortable normal? It's a wellness center on vacation. This is where you're going to be able to open up because psychedelics, you want to let open up. And while you're sitting in a medical bed with medical equipment and doctors, you're really not going to, let loose and let the medications do what they want. That's why we feel that the new wellness centers are going to be the upfront runners that are going to use these medications for treatments, because they're going to be able to have setting to make people feel more comfortable while they do it, as long as there's a medical oversight to it.
Yeah, like you said, if you're going to a nice little resort where you feel free and happy and just at home, basically, yeah, I mean, why not? Yeah, I mean, this is the way to do it, and you're doing it right, it sounds like. But and this might be a very vague or broad question, but overall, I mean, what is the mental state of firefighters? I mean, do you see mostly they're all kind of going through some type of shit in their own way, or it's usually just everyone's kind of just a go with the flow type person? I mean, and the reason I'm asking is because I don't really know, but I just know that from what I've heard from other people on podcasts, police officers and or firefighters just talk about, the shit they've seen and had to go through, and like even people they've helped and stuff. And it just even it just plays in their mind over and over. And it's just hard to handle or even fathom those type of stuff, especially when you've never been seen things that you've through your eyes that I've never seen. So I guess that's my question I mean, if that's a good question, I don't even know if it's a good question, but what is the mental health state of a firefighter? I mean, do you think it's usually above average? Is it right average, below average? Is a lot of people suffering in silence, I guess?
We're all fucked up.
That's what
I'll be honest with you. This is what really, I'm very happy, Lamar made it through his drop on the field. But when all these broadcasters go, it's the first time the players saw that, they're traumatic. The audience saw it as traumatic. That is one call in a day for us that we will guarantee probably see for 30 years. Wow. Guaranteed once a day. And I always tell everybody else, this is what the firefighters have. And I got this from my podcast, and you can actually listen to it with Sean, the Navy SEAL, on my podcast. And he actually says, you know what, we thank you guys because you see probably more shit than we'll see.
Wow.
And that's what happens, because if you go to the military, you sign up for the military. I'll give you a quick scenario that I tell everybody else. There's two windows. Think of two movies. If you see a military movie, you're going to see blood, explosions, people being shot, everything else. And you look at Backdraft. How many body parts have you seen? How many people got sliced? How many people got burnt? Nothing. Okay. But the problem is, if you go into a burning building to save somebody, it's about 1,400 degrees. That person is basically cooking in an oven. To pull that person out of there, we have to grab them. By grabbing them, their skin is coming off their body. That skin is sticking to our gloves. It's in our nose. We have to put them inside of a rescue, try to find some sort of vein to actually give them some fluids and everything else. And we're doing this within an hour and stuff. That is one call. Immediately after that, we don't get a break. There might be a kid drowning in a pool, or somebody, motorcycle who's been T-boned. So that is what we see. And then we sign on a dotted line for 30 years, 20 to 30 years, that we guarantee we're going to do this job. Otherwise, we don't get our retirement. The military works in 2 to 4 year increments. If you go on tour, you come back, you don't have to go back unless you want to go back. You went or they need something.
Right.
As far as I know. So, that's the biggest difference. Most people understand the stuff that we see on a daily basis. People will not imagine the stuff we see. Exactly the same thing when my daughter died of an overdose. I bring people back from the dead from overdoses every time I'm on shift at least once. My daughter, nobody can get her back. Why? That play every time I bring somebody back, it's like, well, how come nobody brought her back? How come, it's that consistent thing. So yeah, basically firefighters are pretty messed up in the brain. But like I said in the beginning, we're type A personalities. Our job is to be calm while everybody else is freaking out.
Sure.
So we compartmentalize everything. And then we take that home. So when our wives or our kids say you have no empathy, it's not that we don't have empathy. We've seen the highest of highest emergencies. It doesn't freak us out.
Yeah.
We're not going to flip out. It's not that we're not empathetic. We don't know what you're going through. We're just not going to freak out. We're just going to, go into freaking, firefighter mode and fix whatever needs to be fixed.
Damn, Gary. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's a good point too, just because I've heard in other areas where people say, oh, you're just desensitized to certain things or whatever, but it's just, that's a good way to put it. Your point was spot on. Just like, no, I'm not desensitized to it. I just go into, like you said, firefighter mode or help mode or whatever it is, just because you know how to react. And just, I'll tell you off the air, but there was one point in my life where I saw something and I didn't know how to react. I was that guy, just, but luckily there was somebody beside me who was trained and knew exactly what they're doing, as far as there used to be rather than ambulance or whatever, an EMT, that's what I'm trying to say. And just, they went into go mode. So that's the first time I actually saw it firsthand. Was like, oh shit, this is the difference. This is what separates the men from the boys, where I'm just sitting back and had no clue what to do and was just kind of even freaked out by what was going on. And while, they did their thing and everything came out okay, of course, at the end of it, but it was just like, wow, this is the thing that, the entertainment industry is not really showing you. I guess they're just trying to show you to get the views and the likes and the eyes on everything, rather than just, okay, this is the real shit. This is the real perspective, just like what you said, pulling somebody out of a 1400 degree building and their skin's basically coming off, and just, yeah, they might be on a TV show or something, but you just don't really know what that shit's like. Right.
Well, how many people you see the skin coming off that pulls out, like 911 or whatever on their shows? They come out and, they have a little dust on their face. Like, oh yeah, we saved them. Never, ever did they see exactly what those patients look like. Or, I apologize for people whose parents passed away. The 90-year-old woman who you cracked a rib while you're doing CPR, and you feel that crack while you're doing it, trying to save the lady's life. It's just, it's things like that you go through because it's your career. It's what you signed up to do. And a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people get hired, go on their first call, whether it's a car wreck or an amputation from a motorcycle being T-boned, and they said, we're done, I'm out. It's not for me. It's difficult to try and, not be like, oh my God, look, we had an accident a couple of weeks ago where the guy was basically, if you think about, you buy a rotisserie chicken and you want to share with your friends, you cut it down the middle and you open it up. That's basically what the patient was on a motorcycle. He ran a T-bone on a motorcycle, and a motorcycle went right down the middle of him. And, he was still alive and talking, and we had to do what we had to do to try and get him to the hospital. That's the thing. It's, it's what you do. And next thing you know, you just go home and you cook some food, eat, watch it, and go to the next one.
Yeah.
It's 20 or 30 years like that. And that's why I tell people, it says, my goal with my facility is not, we get something called a life scan every year. Basically, they scan our bodies for lumps, masses, our organs, looking for cancer, and everything else, because they want to give firefighters a chance to live longer.
Sure.
They don't scan anything neck up. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get, access to cannabis or psychedelics where firefighters, first responders, military people who are still on active duty can have a place they can go, so that time, once a year, they can actually do a session with somebody and not let this stuff build up, so that they can make it to the end of their career and don't commit suicide, don't drink themselves to death, don't get addicted to pills, don't do those stuff. Let's create something more for these people who for guys like us who decided to put all our eggs or our lives on the line for everybody else that we've never heard of, we don't even know.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said they don't do that life scan from the head up. It's always the neck down.
Always neck down. They do nothing with the brain. So it's like, okay, dude, that's where we're all messed up is the head, okay.
Yeah.
So definitely we'll get some cancer and stuff from some of the stuff we go into, but 30 years of never checking the noggin is definitely going to build up. And, I've had 5 to 6 fellow firefighters commit suicide in the last 5 years. It's just, they just can't do it.
Is that just because I know we kind of said earlier in the podcast that, conversations like, talking about mental health and cannabis and CBD, like, they're kind of sexy now and they're able to come out, just saying like, hey, I'm suffering. I'm struggling right here. And then maybe, I don't know, 10, 15, even 20 years ago that, you really weren't allowed to kind of say that you were feeling bad or you were going through something that, it wasn't like the cool thing to do, I guess, like you just don't walk into the firehouse or even to the gym or wherever it be and just say, man, like, I'm not right today, y'all. It's like, I'm going through some shit. You just didn't do that. It's like kind of saying like, if you have I don't know, a ED problem, you just don't walk into a party and be like, hey, guess what I got going on? I can't get my dick up, man. So you just don't do shit like that. But now it seems like it's more accepting for people to say like, hey man, you're not the only one going through some shit. Let's talk about it, man. And just, if you just want to talk, that's cool. If you don't want to talk, if you just want to listen, just do it. Is that kind of make sense what I'm trying to say, I guess?
Yeah, it makes 100% sense. And there's still some old timers will actually tell you to, be quiet. It's your job, get in line. We need to make sure you get your head on straight because, it's a team thing.
Sure.
They're all going to say if you need the hug squad or whatever, they make fun of you and stuff like that. So people are still not going to talk about it, but it's the mentality is slowly changing. What the problem is right now is that administration and human resources don't acknowledge PTSD. So they may not pay for your health care. They may not pay for treatments. They may not pay for that. So even if you've been diagnosed with something and you're having some traumatic event, you have to fight your employer that gave you that traumatic event to actually get paid for. One of the podcasts I had, I was talking to a firefighter out in Colorado. That was his biggest issue. He had to retire early, because he couldn't take it anymore. He had to retire early and he had to fight and sue his department to pay for his medical bills for what he saw while he was on the department. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think, you can ask somebody to go through all this stuff, see all this crap that nobody else sees and not give them the benefit of the doubt or accept the fact that they don't have PTSD or some sort of trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just what we said earlier that where even me, like I haven't seen the type of shit that you've seen in your lifetime or through your eyes or in your shoes, whatever you want to say. And, and I have a couple friends who've gone through types of addiction of, and I don't want to tell their business on here, but, and to your point though, when they say like, hey man, I just can't stop watching porn or whatever. And I was like, man, just stop watching. It's that easy. Just don't watch it. But I don't really understand like what's really going on in their brain. Like for me, it's on the outside looking in and just somebody who just, really just goes to work, works out, comes home and talks to people like you all day. I don't really get what's going on inside their brain. So it's easy for me to say that. And I just can't, for me, I just can't comprehend like, oh, what are they really going through? Like, and it sucks because I wish I was like, because it sounds so stupid and ignorant for me to say something like, man, just don't do it, dude. Just go watch Netflix or something. Like it's that easy, but it's not that easy.
No. It's more than just that. And then again, you talk about 20 or 50, even 10 years of compartmentalizing, your feelings. It's just not going to come out one day and go, hey, like you said, guess what? My dick don't work. Last 10 years, it just doesn't come out. It's conditioned to stay in. You're conditioned to be the tough guy. You're conditioned. Listen, you're running into the burning buildings while everybody's running out. While everybody's screaming, you're calm and doing what you have to do. You're conditioned to do that. So unless, it's comfortable, the setting is good, and your mind decompartmentalizes, it's not going to affect you until that one time you're going to see a call. It's kind of like, right now, every time this week with my daughter, everything else right now is, every time we see pictures of her and we post some stuff about her and everything else, it brings back those feelings. And that's what PTSD ends up happening is that one person's going to get a call where he's going to pick up a young kid that's been drowned in a pool and can't save him. And it's going to set him off and he won't be able to come back because he won't be able to function. And that's what I'm trying to stop from happening. And I think with psychedelics and cannabis, with proper guidance and everything else, I think these medications will be a lot better than actually just doping a guy up on antidepressants and SSRIs. Because, most of those are just basically treating a symptom or masking a symptom to give you a different symptom, which causes another issue, which causes this, which causes that. And now you're on loads of medications. And what ends up happening is, what do all those medications say? Chances of suicide.
Yes.
Why am I taking this? I've already want to commit suicide. So you're going to put me on a pill that has chances I'm going to commit suicide. What?
Yeah, when they say all that shit super fast at the end of each commercial or whatever, you might have diarrhea, headaches, heart attack, chances of psoriasis, like all this random. It's like, what the fuck am I getting into here? I thought I was trying to get some help.
I like the best one is always the one which one. I don't remember the name, but this is you have tremors in your hand. Take this pill. It'll stop the tremors. Side effects, tremors. I'm like, okay, I'm confused on how.
What?
How do I know it's working if it's giving me tremors? I'm a little confused.
Yeah, dude, I mean, and I want to ask this, and just that, when your daughter passed, I mean, with you just continuing wanting to help firefighters and help people get better with themselves mentally, physically, and is that kind of what kept you going at the time? Just knowing that, hey, I want to help people, I want to do good in this world, I want to, educate people with cannabis and CBD and all that good stuff, rather than, because that's something I couldn't even imagine going through, and it just seems like, you seem like have a good head on your shoulders. You know what you want out of life, and you seem very disciplined, and that, hey, I can move forward from this, and I can learn from this, and I can be better. I can help. It sucks I went through this, but I can help others.
Right. A lot of that I learned through, to be honest, I learned through CrossFit, basically the determination of, small steps to equal big goals. If you can't do 100 pull-ups, do one pull-up. If you can do one, you can do 100. It's slowly understanding that, but what I'm creating she started it. It was basically her idea. And the reason why I'm creating it is to always have her with me, so this is her legacy. This is not me. It's what she wanted. And by doing this is creating her never to be out of my life. So everything that I'm doing is basically fundamentally for her. So it always brings her memory because it's always her. And what really 100% helped me get a lot over it, and this is what I'm trying to tell everybody else, is continuously going on podcasts and talking about it.
Yes.
Instead of compartmentalizing it and keeping it inside, the ability to understand that what happened to her is an effect of us now helping people. Unfortunately, it happened, but I guarantee you she's watching from what we're doing from above, and that she's going to be, always with us by getting this mission done and this project off the ground.
Cool. Gary, I think it's a good way to take this podcast home right there on that right there, man. That's beautiful. If people want to find you or just anything you want to plug in general and your podcast and just anything, just feel free to do that.
If people want to help the first responders, we do have a 501(c) that's connected to our organization out in Costa Rica. You can go to Innovative Promises, innovativerecovery.com. That's our site for our facility. There's a donation page on there. You can go and donate. It's tax deductible, so your donations are more welcome than anything else. 100% of it goes to what we're building and goes to helping firefighters, whether it's getting them access to CBD or actually even get a trip out to different facilities until ours are built. That's it. If you want to reach out to me, my Instagram is Good Dudes Grow Podcast. It's and then same thing, Good Dudes Grow Podcast on Facebook, and basically it's Promises Recovery on LinkedIn. You can reach me out any there. You can send me questions. You want questions about CBD, cannabis, anything with, I'm here to help you out, send you in the right direction.
Cool. Gary, you're a badass too, man. I'm glad we did this and appreciate you coming on here and enlighten me and hopefully some other people. And yeah, like I said, you're a badass dude, man. So
I appreciate it, man. I had a blast. It was great. Great conversation.
Good, man. Thanks, man. All right, folks. Any last messages or are you good?
I'm good, man. I appreciate it.
All right. We're out of here, folks. See ya.